Haunted Mansion is the new Disney movie playing in theaters, and they've adapted this movie before. I reviewed the Eddie Murphy movie like back in May in preparation for this movie. I really enjoy that movie just because it has Eddie Murphy in it. He kind of makes any bad movie kind of enjoyable. Not a great movie though. So I was really excited about this movie because of the cast. We got Jamie Lee Curtis and others, and Danny DeVito, who I just love Jamie Lee Curtis and Danny DeVito. It was also something more original from Disney, at least. Like, yeah, I know this is based on a theme park ride, but at least, you know, it's something for their live action department to do other than Disney remakes or another Pirates movie that will crash and burn. So, I was curious to see this movie, and I do like, kind of horror, so I was curious what they're going to do with it. And obviously, I was also very concerned. Because the thing is about the Disney ride that people don't want to talk about with this movie or don't really think about when it comes to this movie is the Disney ride is like the perfect blending of like horror and goofy humor, right? Right. You go to Disneyland to ride this ride. It's not actually meant to scare you unless you're really little. I mean, as I was when I vaguely recall going on the ride. I remember going into the like right before we got on the ride being a little spooked out, and then going on the ride and being a little spooked out. I was never actually scared from what I remember, but that's kind of the charm of this ride. You're just vaguely spooked. There's some humor in it. Some of the ghosts are funny. You have little classic lines like happy haunts. Just stuff that's make to give you a certain fun atmosphere, right? It's fun, but it's also kind of creepy. And that's, for a Disney movie, that's kind of hard to do, right? Compared to a ride. And so, I don't know. Someone actually brought up a great idea of how they should approach this is they should have had Sam Raimi direct this movie. They could have made it lower budget. Sam Raimi would have done a lot of his classic humor, not made it rated R, but and I think he would have done that well because he's done PG-13 stuff like Spider-Man and stuff like that, and he works well in that realm, and that would have worked out. But they didn't go that route, which is fine. But I did enjoy this movie. It was not as good as I was hoping. I actually had pretty high expectations for this movie, especially based off the trailers. What I don't like about this movie is a few of our main leads just don't work. Tiffany Haddish is not good in her part and really is a terrible choice. Tiffany Haddish is very annoying in most movies she's in, and she remains no different here. You have, I forget our other main lead, he's dealing with his character. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. He's dealing with a lot of grief and stuff. And he's really good in the dramatic scenes, but he doesn't have the comedic chops for any of the actual like lines that you could tell he was supposed to deliver with more of a sense of humor and more of a bite to it. And like I hate to say it, Eddie Murphy kind of did a better job at the comedic chops, And so I don't know, that bugged me a little bit. But other than that, I thought it was really good and striking a good balance of that humor. Like there are definitely very good laughs in this movie that the audience actually in the theater did laugh at. A lot of the spookiness is really good, especially since a lot of this movie is mystery of like what the ghost is, what do they want, what's their deal. You're learning more and more about this mansion as the movie goes along, so it keeps you kind of on the edge of your seat, a little spooked out because you never really know what's going to happen next, and that's really good. A lot of the effects are really good, like the CGI, and then some of the parts that you could probably tell were a little more handcrafted are really amazing and actually pretty good. Some of the best effects work I've seen from Disney's live action department in years. And that's really good because, a lot of these Disney rides are about technological innovation. It's something Walt Disney really believed in. And so seeing that like actually captured on screen is really cool. And just a lot of that kind of stuff made this movie really enjoyable. And then you also have great cast members like Jamie Lee Curtis as Madame Leota. It's such a great decision to put her in this. You got Danny DeVito, who's great in his part, playing this older guy. And he adds a lot of the best humor and lines in the movie. Owen Wilson as this con man priest is great because, at first I was like thrown off by his performance because I was like, really? You're playing a priest? Like, you're not good at this? But then you learn more about his character. Now he's kind of a con man priest. It's like, okay, that makes sense, right? So it all works out for the writing. And, it was a really funny movie. And, yeah, it was a really good time. And I just thought it really worked. And I could see, like, when I was a kid who really liked horror movies like Frankenweenie and things like that, I could see myself really loving this movie. If your kid really likes like Frankenweenie or Coraline or Paranorman and Box Trolls, stuff like that, definitely take them to this movie. They'll have a great time. It's a great movie for what it was. I give it an 8 out of 10. I think where it just falters is some of the casting decisions, though most of them work really well and lead to this movie being a pretty great time. And it's unfortunate that the box office projections are not looking great for this movie, but also, can we all just agree the release date for this movie was awful? I have no clue who decided to put out a Disney like Haunted Mansion movie out in July and not September, October. They should have moved the creator up to this week, and that would have done better. And maybe moved Haunted Mansion to its release date. I really enjoyed this movie. Let me know what you thought of this movie. I had a great time.